Hello, hello! Welcome one and all. Welcome to my stream. I am PaladinAshe here to stream for you again, and I come back technically already having debuted my new setup. But yeah, this is my new setup. Actually, one sec. I'm moving the chat box group below my avatar. There we go. Don't like that clipping out my ear like that. Still a work in progress, but this is my new UI. Might change some, might change out the border because I don't like quite how chunky it is, but it is a thing. Either way, today we're gonna get back into it with Satisfactory. Just I have no idea where I left off because it's been a week and I've been playing on my alt file other than this, so yeah. Let's see. I swear this was not what I left off on. Was it? Why am I making black powder? Production, refinery. Yeah, I've got the tech. Yeah, I'm gonna get into that soon enough. Soon enough. Let's see. Got the one. How much of my shit? Okay, I've got the concrete set up like that. I've got that. I should probably make steel plates. No, I shouldn't make steel plates be that. Actually, I know exactly what I should be setting up today. Oh, shit. That could have gone poorly. I think today I'm going to... Wait. No, today I really should... Ah, fuck off. I should set up my, my oil and gas setup. As much as it's going to pain me to have to go back and forth between areas. It will be for the best. Bye. Doge. Lizard Dojo. Okay, I've got how many plates being spat out? I've got 4 rotors a minute being, or 5, thereabouts. 10. I mean, this isn't a bad setup. I just need more, spheres. I spent literally like a lot of my off time last week automating a lot of this shit to oblivion. I have some scary ass setups in the other file. And these are making those. And those are no longer being consumed. And this is no longer being an issue. I think I spent time in-game allowing certain shit to elapse. Okay, fine. I think I've got good enough setup. Ah! That was my other file. But, like, you know, I think this is, like, what I've got currently is just fine for my needs right now. Eventually, this is all going to go away. And I'm going to build better and more awesomer. But I need to get my gas and plastic builds up and running so I can do the other stuff. So, with that in mind, I'm gonna want to put in a lot of motors into my inventory. Oil extractors are good. Those are fine. I so kind of want to move the MAM over to the other area. But that's not necessary right now. That's right. Where are my plates? There are my plates. And that's being fed by its own personal thing. Which is still being fed. All right. Organization. There we go. That way, when I place down so many foundation blocks, it won't be an issue. And I'm gonna grab NGOs. That's a lot of NGOs. And while I'm here, because one of the benefits of having an alt file is you kind of bring back to your memory the things you were building for convenience's sake. Let us build architecture. Oh yeah, I haven't put much into the how many coupons I got saved up? 20. I'm taking those. Immediately investing them. Architecture. Structural beams. Got all of that. Fix it. Roofs. Roofs would be nice. Oh, walls. Got all those. Okay. The elevator will come in time. It's not an immediate necessity, but it would be nice to have eventually when I start building bigger fab blocks. That's a necessity. Modern catwalks. Fix it. Yeah, sure. And sure. I need something that's 6-ish points. Hey, Chonka. Things are going well. And yeah, as you can see, I installed some point redeems. That's still a whip. You know, still a work in progress. Everything's a bit of a work in progress right now, but I now actually have more of a UI other than just me putting everything on the screen. I'll probably create a scene for OBS that also allows me to just like have like a larger scale UI for the game. But for now, I've got something that looks a little bit more polished, put together, I guess? Question mark? Yeah, fuck it. Fix it, roof. How is it not working? What the fuck? That had audio. What? Browser. Okay, I've got a browser source. I need to real quick, get Bo in here. Not in here, but yeah, I have to real quick do that, like, because it's good to have feedback. Let's see. While I wait on him to potentially respond. Okay, how about... No, that ain't it. Remove that. Let me try that now.
I want Godzilla's big fat dong.
Did y'all hear all that? It's a bit quiet, yes, fair. What can I do about that? It's listed as being as loud as it can be. Filters. Gain. Or no, wait, no, not gain. I forget what gain does. Noise gate, compressor, expander. Maybe it was gain.
Halo Infinite is the best in the franchise.
Okay, that was certainly a little bit louder. Yeah, sure, one sec.
I went evil because romantasy chicks wanted their fetish.
I think that's fine at that point now. By the way, I joke, but that was actually something that, like, one of the developers said about, like, you know, Asterian's storyline in Baldur's Gate 3. If you make him an ascended vampire and he goes evil promptly, and people are like, oh no, why did that happen? And, like, one of the writers is like, because you wanted your BDSM fetish more than you cared about him as a person. Oh, fucking beautiful. I'm gonna get rid of that one for a bit. That was him basically whispering. Or have you not heard him in the English track?
Fun fact, architecture was invented when people began building buildings. If it had been invented slightly beforehand, perhaps more old buildings would still be around. Humanity sometimes lacks vision.
Ah, yeah, fair. Yeah, so for now, that seems to be fixed. I wasn't aware that was going to be an issue, but it seems to be an issue that's fixed-ish now. Yeah, I haven't watched many streamers play the game, though there is one that I like seeing clips from. Her name's Luality. I'm not sure what country she's from, but she's clearly got the accent of somebody who's European. And it's hilarious because she ranges between genuinely into it and vibing and, you know, doing shit for the lulz. Yeah. All right. I had this set up last week, but, or the week before, but didn't do anything with it yet. I have power. I have plenty of power. How did this go? That will put out 240 in a minute. And I lucked into the recipe that would make it so I would yield an absurd amount of residual resin for what I'm doing. 6, 12, 18, 24. So I don't have to worry too terribly much about the 40 or so stuff that I've got going. This has to go. Okay, fine. Ugh. I need space in my inventory. Ah! Fuck you. Die. Okay. Okay. So I've got that. And that's gonna go there. Let's zoop some stuff a bit. Yeah, oil and gas is, in this game, where the idea of getting, like, recipes out of the gacha starts to actually really start to pay off, because your starting recipes are hot garbage. Like, okay, this recipe here, alternate polymer resin. So, in exchange for just 60 crude oil, I get 130 resin for every 20 unit of heavy oil. But the thing is, notice how I don't have very many alternate recipes. So your options are to essentially make heavy oil at a relative loss. You only get 10 for that and 20 plastic per minute at that. For like this much. But like it takes, let me see, residual plastic. This much just to make that 20 plastic. Yeah, so you need like 60 resin and whatnot. Like, I don't want to break down the math too terribly much because even I don't quite understand it. But basically, the initial recipes you're given are not very efficient. And you also don't really have a lot to do with like your fuels either. Because like initially, you don't have the ability to package fuels and you don't have the ability to consume fuels for power. You have to unlock those, and if memory serves, I haven't unlocked that yet. I need plastic and rubber to do that, so that's why I'm doing all of this first. And I have to make sure that I have some output for my heavy oil, which comes from this. So I'm going to turn that into petroleum coke and power coal plants with this. Now, that's not a bad idea, but the problem is that petroleum coke is actually kind of shitty by compared to actual coal. You make a lot of it though. You make like so much. Like, okay, 40 heavy oil a minute. Again, reminder, I'll be generating 20 per. So out of 4 things, that means I'll have enough for like 2 machines making petroleum coke. There's an alt recipe that is the inverse of this one that produces more heavy oil than it does polymer resin. And in my alt file, I produced so much petroleum coke, 120 a minute just for those 40, that I had to split up the lines because my current conveyor belts can only take up to about 480, which at this point, you're starting to, like, in this game, starting to hit certain thresholds of limitation much quicker. Because you're putting down more stuff, that is taking more stuff, that is yielding more stuff, and, having to send more stuff. The only time it starts to reduce is when you start refining stuff into like secondary and tertiary levels of your resources. Yeah. Your choke points are always going to be your ability to produce and your ability to deliver. You can always make more machines, but you always have to be aware that unless you're splitting up your outputs, there's only so much you can do. And past, say, phase 4, when you start getting, I think it's phase 4, when you start getting into aluminum production and start making alclad plates, which you'll make a lot of, and that will become the baseline for the conveyor belts and that. And if memory serves, they have a max of about 720 or something like that, or 750 resources. And your Mark III extractors on a pure node, yeah, they can deliver twice again what those conveyor belts can deliver, which means you can't even fully make use of a pure node once you've hit that level. You may as well just sit or set or like underclock your extractors to whatever is your current max on a conveyor belt and just deal with that. You don't get the Mark 6, I think it's Mark 6 or 7 conveyor belts. What am I on? You don't get those until like the final phase. And I think those properly allow you to, but I admit that I basically like decision paralysis myself away from this game a year ago and never got to that stage. Even though I literally could have set up like a drip feed of my my phase materials onto that. Like on this file. Yeah. Like, not severe problems, but like, it does mean that the machine's going to be like throttling on and off. And while you start basically making a lot more power once you get into fuel, you kind of just don't want to run into the problems of your power kind of just like bouncing up and down. Like, I've got things reasonably chill here. But in my alt file, I made such a big fab area in like the grasslands that I was desperate for power when I got here. This line, which represents how much all of this might ultimately consume if it is constantly in its like beginning stages of turning on, because this is like an inrush current feature of everything. Like everything takes a little bit more power to start and then kind of slips off a bit. So that's why like this line's kind of like this rather than up here, is because this represents like the inrush current of everything. But like that's the reason why if I were to turn everything off and turn it back on, there would be a spike and then a drop off. And I made so much shit in that file. Like I should show pictures on the Discord later. But like genuinely, it was some like massive stuff. And oh God, was it a struggle. Getting everything into a uniform shape that isn't messy is itself a messy experience. But anyways, enough explanations from me. I'm going to 130, that is 4 machines. I'm going to whip out yield calculator, 130 times 4. I'm going to split these up. I'm going to split these up, and they're going to feed their own... Ew, gross. They're going to feed their own, line of machines. Okay, I didn't destroy the nut bush, and I'm glad for that. Production, refinery. So divide by 2, 520 is 260. That's too close. That is way too close. Actually, I'm going to... Foundations. Alas, I am also... I've seen the season that we're on for Foundation. I have, but I still like it watching it on the server with y'all. But Bo wants to push forward to end the season this weekend, so expect possibly to have like a like a quadruple feature, because he really wants to get into Godzilla. And yeah, I know, because Godzilla is his bae. He has so many loves in his life, and I just can't compete. But then again, I mean, if Godzilla was like DTF, I mean, I'd be like, okay, can you rope me in for like a threesome there? You know, it's like, it's one of those cases where it's like, okay, I'm giving you a hall pass for this, but only because it's like it's Godzilla. Okay. That's nice and uniform. But yeah, the reason why I'm lamenting this is because I have a family thing this weekend. It's not a big thing. It's just that every year around this time, we kind of celebrate the anniversary of my grandfather's passing. That sounds macabre, like he wasn't loved. He very much was loved. But I mean, like, let's see. Divided by, nope, 60. Yeah. So if I put down 6 machines, no, I've got plenty of these things. If I... How about 60? 5 by 90? Okay, 3 machines with 1 shard. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so 2.8. So it's not a completely, yeah, I know you can't see. Actually, one sec. I wonder if I can. You know, I'm gonna have a window capture. No, do not remove a source. Do not remove the Tangia source. I ask so little of you, OBS. I ask so little. Window capture. Calculator. There we are. That big. Let me shrink that down. I don't think y'all need to look at my my phase materials. Actually, no. Let me put it there. Let me put it there. There we go. Nice and quaint. But anyways, what was I doing? Right, 2.8. So let's divide that by 3. And there we go. We got our percentage for how much we need for this. 96.296. Let's go with that. Or 96.296. There we go. And paste and paste. People accuse this game of being very spreadsheetsy, and it deserves it because you can literally just like hit the copy button in these and then literally Control V this shit. This game This game even has a calculator. Let me, is this a calculator? Has an in-game calculator. I just can't remember where it is. 2 plus 2 equals... Now that ain't it. That's the chat. Oh yeah, this game, it covers its bases for the shit that you need. It gives you the tools that you need. Plus, there is significant, fan background. Okay, so we're gonna make residual rubber off of you. And you require 40 per. 260 with our half, so divide by 40. Kind of don't want to have to put more than 3 machines down. Let's see what happens if I give it a shard. And jack it up. 260 divided by 60. I'm gonna have to give it more than 1 shard. $260 divided by 80. I can work with this. Actually, no, I have to give it 3 shards. It's a thirsty bitch for the shards. And I can just put in 96.296. What do you fucking mean? Actually, I might have done this wrong. I am questioning my math. Yeah, I'm stupid. This is me basically talking out my ass. So let's see. 260 divided by 90. How to yield... Actually, divide by 3. Okay, there we go. What I want is an input of 86.666. Right. Let's divide you by 60. Ah, yes, I think that's 144.4. There we go. Just have to think about the math a little bit. Okay. What about you? You need to be jacked up. You start at 40. Okay. You start at 40. For me to get you up to 90. Let's go with 90 divided by 40. 225. 225. Wait. I'm reconsidering the math again because I think I'm kind of doing this incorrectly. I'm doing this all in my head, so you know, you're getting me fumbling around with math live on stream. Okay, that's a little bit more than I need. 260 divided by 3. 86 point... Okay, divided by 40. Okay. 216 point. I think that's correct. Yep. It's like a little bit over, but it's not the biggest issue. That is one of the things that will come with tuning these like machines, like what I'm doing right now, is that you are sometimes going to fight with things. And some of the shit has very slow turnarounds. I've talked about it on stream, but like my my other, I can't really call it main file, but my original play file, I spent ages getting a plastic and rubber fab working, and as far as I could tell, those were perfectly symmetrical. No buildups, no like, you know, slow drain, like, you know, dry outs of fuel or resources. Everything seemed to just be 100% at all times. But as you can see right here, machines have an efficiency thing here. And it's a good way to, like, you know, be aware of how symmetrical things are, because, you know, if something is very slightly not symmetrical, it'll show us just like 99% efficient, which is fine. It's not the worst thing in the world. It does mean shit will start to throttle a bit, but it will generally throttle for like maybe at most a minute. But in the case of like my my purple oil refinement line in go over here in the other file, that would be like the coral reef lake. Yeah, that was very slightly asymmetrical. Like, when I say very slightly asymmetrical, I was doing stuff for weeks elsewhere and occasionally coming back to check it. And I was aware that over this time, ever so slowly, despite hours of in-game time, this thing was slowly but surely getting to a point where it was overfilling. So it can be that precise, and it's not that big of an issue. It really isn't. You know, because pipes have the ability to just, like, you can just pull a lever and empty them. And since my way of observing this was having, like, storage tanks in this place, I could just come along and be like, that's overfilled. Empty. No big whoop. Okay. This is set up as it should be. I'm gonna have to direct some lines from here. Let's go with... No. I never did make those things over on my blueprint machine. Yeah. It helps to give yourself in this game ways of diagnosing your machine. With conveyor belts and piping, that's an easy thing to do, usually, by just putting in buffers. Buffers are, well, literally just these or these. Like, you just put in storage, which they're convenient because they also double as something you can just come along and grab some resources from if you need them on hand for building. But also, if things are slightly asymmetrical, then in general, it will start to fill or drain. In general, like, if it's not symmetrical, if it's not, like, putting out enough resources, you'll see that in the machine throttling and your buffer being full of nothing. But if it's, like, filling up its, like, supply, you'll see that in the box just overfilling over time. With fluids, it's a little bit more complicated because, you know, as much as machines will consume stuff, the fluids in this game are kind of unique in that they kind of respond like they would in real-world factory lines. Yeah, like, they really do kind of just... weirdly enough, flow into, like, piping in a way that's, like, like, I've never really seen it work so, like, accurately in a game before. like, to a lesser degree, I want to say they did program in the ability for, like, fluids to, like, flow backwards in their pipe, even though you can't see them. Is this a split? Is this a split? No, this is a merge. No, wait, no, it is a split. I placed it wrong. Huh. I mean, fluids flowing backwards in lines is genuinely just a thing that happens in production lines. That's the reason why there will be like additional pumps along the way. It's required for getting that head lift to lift water up. Because water wants to go down, so you have to defy gravity. That reminds me, Ascendance of a Bookworm, mine at the point in the novels that I am, basically decided she was going to introduce hand pumps. She was like, you know, I'm just going to do this because, like, you know, I think it would genuinely be helpful. And also, one of my Gutenbergs. Yeah, so that's a thing. Anybody, like, the guy who made her movable types for her printing press had the name Johann. And she was like, just like Johann Gutenberg, who made the Gutenberg press. You know what? I'm giving you the title Gutenberg. And he's like, what? And everybody else was like, what? And he's like, okay, I guess he gets the name Gutenberg. And she's like, not just him, all of you are my Gutenbergs. And they're just like, I want no part of this. And Johann initially is ecstatic because he was having difficulties getting a patron. That's how it works for like workmen in like at least the smithing guild. If you're at the end of your like, it's called a literal contract. And the difference between, say, it and other contracts, the Lahange, which is like your very apprentice contract, is that a Laherl lives in like the housing of the workshop that has their room and board paid for by the workshop, but they're kind of signed on to the workshop for life and have no freedom of movement beyond that. So some will, you know, go with a Lahange and go around to various workshops to learn various things. Some will commit to a workshop. You cannot open your own workshop if you are a Laherl, etc. But he wanted to become a Laherl, but he had to get himself a proper patron. The problem with him is that he will ask you 1,000,001 fucking questions that are so hyper-specific as to annoy anybody who's just asking for a basic kitchen knife. But his work is very precise. Like, we're talking machined precise for somebody doing it himself. You know, it's kind of a big deal. So, like, he comes to her because she liked his work and liked that he asked those questions. And he makes her his movable type. And she's like, I approve of your work. And he's like, yay, I've got a patron. Yeah, autistic specification. And she's all like, okay, you get to be called my Gutenberg. And he's like, so out of sorts about that because then everybody in his fucking place of work calls him Gutenberg to his face. He's like, stop calling me that. And they're like, sorry, can't help it. An Archduke's daughter told us that your name is Gutenberg now. LOL. And he's so sad because she's constantly like, make me more things for the press. He was like, I don't want to make more printing materials. People call me Gutenberg. And everybody's just like laughing at him. Even Benno and Lutz, who are like also Gutenbergs and still are like, I want no part of this. But she's like slowly but surely spreading the name around. At one point, a dude, a peer of Johann's, actually a rival, one-sided. His name is Zach. He's like, I will take the title Gutenberg. I will have it. And she's like, okay, if you could design a mimeograph machine, or not a mimeograph, actually, they needed to make wax paper, like really thin wax paper for stencils for mimeographs. Mimeographs is another form of printing that allows you to do like illustrations. And they weren't quite at printing press tech at the time. And she's like, I need a machine of this specification that can do this. And he's like, all right. And as it turns out, Zach's thing is that while he's not as precise as Johann, his ability to take ideas and apply them, not even just like the full description of what she wants. She gives him basically ideas of, like, she introduces to him the idea of leverage, like a physics concept. And she's like, this is how it would work. And Johann's like, I don't understand what you're trying to say to me. And Zach's like, you fool, that's an amazing idea. You can like take small force and make it large and like improve a thing. Because the problem was that like with say like both the wax thing and the with like the printing press is that the original printing press is based off of like a wine press. And the thing is, at this point, Mine's entire workshop is populated by Grey Priests and Grey Priests apprentices, which means most of her workers are under the age of 7 or under the age of 16, and some of them are under the age of 10. And they're trying to do this like press thing, but most of them don't have the strength for it. And she's like, I wish I could improve upon that. And so she introduces to him this idea of like leverage, and he's able to massively improve like upon the existing blueprints for the printing press. But anyways, he receives her approval. He receives her approval to become one of her Gutenbergs. And it's only then he realizes that a Gutenberg isn't like a singular title. It's just like a grouping of people who are experts in their particular field that are given the favor of Rosamine, the Archduke's adoptive daughter. And you're just like, what? And then like they have to sort out the idea of copyright law through contracts, because the thing is, he's technically doing no work for her. As far as the workshops are concerned, he's doing nothing for her that's particularly unique. And blueprints are usually just held by the workshop that like the individual makes them from. So she has to come up with the means to make it so that this dude is acknowledged as having done work for her, and also entitled to royalties from certain blueprints that he puts out in perpetuity. Because he's being not paid for this work, even though he is doing exemplary work for her. It's honestly hilarious. But anyways, yeah, so she actually got him to design a fountain pump. And she's like, okay, we need to make this like like a duchy-wide contract, which requires the approval of my father. Yeah, like, the idea of copyright law just does not exist at this point. As does, like, the idea of royalties. Hell, the idea of franchising is a thing that doesn't exist. Like, okay, understandable. Guilds had specific workshops, and towns mostly didn't have, like, enough population to justify it. But, like, Benno comes to mind being like, your sister Tuli wants to sign on with Karina, my sister's workshop. But the problem is that if she signs on as a Leherl, she'll not be able to follow you to other cities if you get wed to some other Alb of another, duchy. Alb is the title for an archduke. Like, it's the prefix, kind of like Von in like, like the Germanic regions. If somebody is like, the Archduke of a place, they're called Alb Ehrenfest or Alb Ehrenbach or Al Freudenbach or whatever. And that's only if they're an Archduke. If they're the leader of a provincial area and they're a noble, they're called a Gieb. Notice how a lot of these have, like, they're probably gibberish to you, but, like, they are very clearly modeled after the sort of pronunciation schemes of the German language, just from the perspective of somebody world building an entire different world with a very Germanic feel. But yeah, basically, yeah. Was it royalty or just like very high nobility? Because I can never remember if it was like, like you're basically king or if it's your archdukes. Technically, archduke was basically borderline the idea of royalty. Like the von, oh fuck. Habsburgs. Yeah, the von Habsburgs were archdukes, if memory serves, weren't they? But they were like so intermingled with everything that they were also royalty. So, you had the von Habsburgs, and whatnot. I need to start connecting these things. I love how like the Habsburgs are like the Ptolemy line in terms of like incest, and it's hilarious to look at their fucking family tree. It wasn't even like that long of a family tree before they started engaging in becoming basically a wreath. Yeah, that's the usual way of it. Like, people are like, why were they always fucking each other? And it's like, because they were trying to hold onto lands while also gain lands through very, like, prestigious contracts. Okay, so I've got that set up. I did the math. What I need now is water. 28.889. 28.889 times 2 plus... Or, wait, no. 28.889 times 3 plus 86.667. I am going to require 2 machines. Okay, 86.667 times 3. Okay. I am going to... need 3 shards. 260.001. But yeah, she sorted out like the hand pump technology, and she of course at this point has to go through Ferdinand a lot. Like, Ferdinand ages back was basically like, okay, before you just randomly introduce shit, I want a fucking heads up. I want you to come to me and be like, I want to do this. I want to create this. I want to print this. And she's all like, okay, so I've got this. And he's like, why didn't you tell me about this? And she's like, because I didn't expect them to just randomly build an actual prototype of what I asked the blueprint for before asking your approval, but they just went ahead and did it. And he's like, bring the prototype here and show me it. He actually Ferdinand is very scientific. As much as he feigns disinterest, he is super intrigued by things that the interrelation of things. He is basically an almost foremost expert on potion making and magic tool craft. And I need a specific tool myself. So, like, for instance, when they're going in and getting... Okay, yes, I get it, Ada.
Once you have built a satisfactory blueprint, interact with the Blueprint Designer terminal to save it. It will then be available in the Blueprints tab of your build menu.
I know.
It can always be edited to correct mistakes or optimize. If you find yourself struggling to work within the set size restrictions, remember that this is a you problem, and efficiency can always be improved.
Okay, ho. But yeah, let's see, where was I? Right. So mine basically, Ferdinand, mine has to acquire ingredients for her basically, her very crucial Jareve potion. For most nobles, it would mostly be in case I'm poisoned, get out of death free potion. It puts you into like a state of suspended animation and allows you to restore, but also prevents things like, your like end of life experiences from happening. In her case, the benefit of it is that it will essentially soften the hardened mana in her body. So she needs that to like not be an invalid. But making the potion is kind of hard. You need 4 ingredients from the 4 seasons. Each ingredient needs to be acquired from something that is relatively pure of any other mana except the seasonal mana of that time. And it's generally like good to acquire them on a specific day or close to a specific day in each season that like represents like a shifting in the balance. Yeah, basically she needed moon fruit before. It was like it was the night of Shazaria, and they failed to get the fruit, but they've acquired every other fruit or like every other ingredient since then. These ingredients are interesting because like you essentially take them and charge them with your mana, and when you do so, it turns into what's known as a Fae Stone. It's a Fae Stone that is elementally aligned with the season that you want, but also dyed in your own mana, so it's useful for you. It cannot easily be used by another person. Now, they got the winter one from this monster that comes along every year thereabouts, that essentially it is a walking blizzard. Its very presence in a country brings about horrifically bad blizzard weather, and taking it out is just one of the ways of assuring that winter will end and spring will come. So yeah, that's like an actual thing that's like that matters severely. But also harvesting it is a good way of getting resources for the Night Order. Funnily enough, you can harvest other resources off of fake creatures until such point as it dies. Yeah. So, like, her getting that Fae Stone essentially deprived them of those resources, but because she was present there, she made it super easy for them to, like, take it out without really many casualties. And they weren't, like, out much, but she still paid out of her, like, own accounts to, like, recoup them. Then she got the one in spring, which was out of like a goddess spring where apparently all the goddesses of spring tend to collect. That's the local myth anyways. And it was kind of hilarious because they were told, allegedly, as the legends say, the forest surrounding it is difficult to navigate to get to it. But if you leave an offering of sweets at like a shrine at the trail's head, you'll have an easy time getting to it. And on the night of, they woke up just randomly in like, the spring area, having not remembered moving at all, inside of Mine's Panda Bus Familiar. Again, it's basically the My Neighbor Totoro, cat bus, but reshaped as a red panda. And all the girls were sleeping inside of it, and it got moved by the forest. And then like a barrier blocked all of the men in their group out of the area, and they couldn't communicate with them. So they watched as Mine and everybody else while this area is like full of ambient mana, just walked out of this thing and just kind of vibed to bubbles in the air. And then mine began singing to the bubbles. And then like a plant frond reached down and picked her up and brought her to, these like flowers where she needed to take the nectar from them and put them into bottles. And then like, as she was doing this, the dawn started to reach, and fucking, because dawn was coming, the mana started dissipating, and the frond she was on proceeded to also just break under her weight, and she started plummeting out of the air. And Ferdinand freaks the fuck out and blasts into the air on his familiar and grabs her out of the air, and he's so fucking mad because of how dumb all of the girls were being. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You don't just exit out of the fucking thing surrounded in your own mana, because they were protected inside of her panda bus. And he's like, you don't just exit out into like an area that's unclearly like, defined as like a bad place and just like start vibing. You're in danger. You need to check. What is wrong with you? He was so out of sorts. He is super tsundere. Like, he's like, I don't care. You're such a problem. You're so difficult to be around. And yet, like, genuinely, like, cares a lot. But yeah, it was very Disney princess. And then, like, she survived that. And then they did the summer one, which required them to go into a fucking active volcano under the threat that if they do anything too severe there, it will erupt. Because apparently the buildup of fire aspected summer like mana in that region is prominent, but a lot of the fae beasts in the area kind of like eat it or thrive off of it, so it stops it from building up. But because those things are crucial to that, they cannot kill any of them. They cannot harm any of them. And if they do anything, like take too many of these like eggs from this type of bird, the fucking mana in the region will overflow and there will be an eruption. And yes, Ferdinand has first-hand experience with this because one of his like, personal men at hands, a dude by the name of Justice, he's an information file. He loves new information. He will harass the shit out of you for new information. He will do shit just to see what it will do. And the last time they were there, he took too many eggs and caused the volcano to erupt. Okay, so those are set up. Those need to be set up. Yeah, pretty much. A real oopsie-daisy moment. Are you aligned? Are you aligned? Yes. Why are these not always showing that? Okay, you're aligned. But anyways, yeah, fucking, mine is, like, in the processes of getting those ingredients, and she'll probably succeed in, like, the next book. Because I want to say that's the last book of the current arc that I'm in. And I want to say the shift for that is that, mine enters into suspended animation because she gets poisoned. I can't remember if that occurs in part 3 or part 4. But it does happen. And she spends, I think, 3 years in suspended animation, during which she does not age. She is better for it, though. It's like, it's not like she got nothing out of it. It's just that, like, because of the severity of entering into the Jariv, catatonia, she basically doesn't get as much out of it as she should have. Like, she proceeds to, like, still have, like, invalid tendencies, but because the mana did soften a bunch inside of her, she's able to bounce back more significantly than she otherwise would have. And that's when, like, her grandfather Bonifacius proceeds to, like, take more of, like, a role in the story. Because he's kind of a meathead, but his, like, expertise with mana is quite literally self-enhancement magic. /ban weightless Carolon HSWG BTFO. No, not BTFO, BFO. There we go. Yeah, you couldn't see that fucking clanker, but they were there. They posted 2 times. Fucking gross. But yeah, basically Bonifacius proceeds to teach her how to do self-enhancement techniques, which for a little invalid girl whose like whole thing is I've got a lot of magic but don't know how to use it, knowing how to use it is super fucking useful. Okay. Noodle. Okay. Let's, how much are you going to yield? Okay, you're not going to yield at all enough to worry about. Or 812. You're not going to yield enough to worry about either. So I can just put a merger right there. Slap you. Slap you. Slap you. I can then put a smart splitter. Foundation, organization, power, logistics. Smart splitter. And that's going to be how I feed into a... Why are you doing that? There we go. I have tried a couple times to get into Pal World, but not for a lack of interest, just like I keep trying to do so at like the time when I'm not in quite the mood for that kind of game. Like, I've been trying to get back into, Unshrouded, or Enshrouded a couple of times, and I am not quite in the mood for that, especially not helped by, like, the fact that it's, like, a lot of stuff that's in the game, so, like, it's one of those cases where you come back, they've patched the game a bunch, and you're like, oh shit, there's so much shit to do, and I barely remember how to play this game. Of flow. But yeah, what was I going to say? Right. So, like, I got onto the subject of, Ferdinand being, like, real, like, scientific in nature. He asks mine during the spring event to give her, to fill a bunch of bottles. Not just, like, 1 or 2, but, like, a bunch. Because quite literally, he's like, I want to see how some of this other nectar is when it's not charged with your mana, and what the stuff that is charged with your mana is like versus each other. And when he gets all the bottles, because like the entire area was just enriched with like her mana as like a blessing from the goddesses, they're all basically like filled with her mana, and he's like, fuck, whatever, I guess I don't get any ingredients. Later on, he tells her, actually, I was too quick to say that. I was able to charge these things with my mana because they're only just slightly charged. They're not fully charged by your mana. Enough to protect them from being tainted by somebody else, but if you work a little bit, you can change them. This is unprecedented. I should publish this, but it would cause me so many problems because people would get pissy at me, upturning generations of precedents. And he says this with excitement. Okay, so. Yeah, it's honestly kind of funny. Why are you being like this? Because it's not a... Because it is a merger. I just fucking put it down wrong. Okay. Okay. Okay, so lift is overflow. Right is overflow. Otherwise, I'm gonna put down... What are you? What are you? Being too conscientious, admittedly, because that will take a while to fill, but still, it's good to, you know, put your ducks in a row. Okay, so, time for the piping here. Actually, why is this? All right. Okay, 6, 12, 18, 24. 2, 4, 40. So I don't really require too much in the way of piping. These will churn out. Why are these? Oh. I put down all of those in expectation that I would be doing a thing. But yeah, it's funny. So they take that like water fountain blue prototype to you know, Sylvester. Well, they make a much you know, like nicer one because it's kind of just required. And they get there, and Sylvester is immediately interested. But the problem with Sylvester is he's not allowed to show his interest. He has to be the stoic, you know, the stoic Archduke. And as a result of that, he has to seem like, you know, he's only like vaguely approving of everything. And yeah, like, okay, when he was like faking being a blue priest, he basically was like, I want to go on a tour of your workshop. And she's like, okay, I guess. And he's immediately blown away by the concept of this, but he calls her boring for publishing books because it's like, why are you publishing just books? You're making games here too. Games are so much more cool. And she's like, because I like books. And he's like, but games. And she's like, books. And then like, then he goes out into the forest with the kids. Keep in mind that typically nobles, even blue priests, do not go into the commoner area of the forest. There is a area of the forest relegated purely for nobles, purely for them to go hunting. And he goes there under the cover that he's not the Archduke. And there are people in his retinue who fucking know. Like, one of Benno's, you know, Lehurls is a kid by the name of Leon. Kind of an insufferable prick because you see the world from his perspective. And at the time that this is happening, he's like, I know this girl's not a fucking noble. She's just a commoner. She's nothing to me. I have no interest in interacting with her. I get nothing out of interacting with her. You know, like, not at all thinking to, like, social network with her. At all. Yo. And that's like, that is an absolutely brutal choice on his part because, you know, by the time that, like, Thule's looking to make her, like, Lehurl contract, like, they're basically like, so the reason why this is all an issue is because if I were just to remain with the Gilberta company, Benno was saying this, then this would be no big problem. But the paper side of things has grown so great, I am having to found a whole separate guild, which I am the head of, and I am willing the company to my brother-in-law so that he can run the face of it while his wife, my sister, runs the actual, like, meat of the company. And that's how the Gilberta company got its start. It was basically a guy ran the shop for his wife, who was a seamstress, who made really good work. And they did such good work that their name originally was given to them by a noble. Like, they were told, found a company by the name of Gilberta. And he, like, addresses mine about this, and it's like, yeah, so I need a name for the company. And she's like, do you need a name for yourself? And he's like, I mean, no. And she's like, so if I told you to take the name Rosamine, and he's like, no. Also, at least come up with a male name. Anyway, she gave him the name Plantin, as in one of the dudes who was involved in the early, like, advent of printing. I think his name was literally John Plantin or something like that. I think he was from either the Netherlands or Belgium, but he might have been from Germany. I don't really remember which. But either way, he's like, because I'm founding this company, I no longer have control over what happens with Thule, and if Thule wants to follow you as a Lahurl, she can't. But Karina wants to sign her on because if I make a company, technically, Karina no longer has the same connections to you that I do, which is to say, Lutz is my Lahurl, and I can go wherever I need to follow you. We are prepared to do so, and therefore he is able to follow you, and he is the one who is my connection to you. But Thule has no such immediate connection because she's no longer on paper considered your family. So I don't know what to do there. And she's like, why not engage in franchising? And he's like, the fuck is franchising? And she's like, you make a separate outlet with the same name in a different city. You know, under the same, like, you know, like, upper management. You know, and he's like, I don't know what that is. Okay. And she's like, you know, you can make it work. Yeah, pretty much. You get, like, a manager to run it, but it's still technically under your name. Hey, what was it? Right. I need one of these. How many am I going to be able to make out of this? I got 80 over here. So each of these puts out 40, or consumes 40. That would be 240. Okay, so I don't need very many machines to run this. So I'm just gonna, like, put them, like, right here. No, not that. Not that. I'm gonna put this right here. Actually, I'm gonna move them because that's way too close. But yeah, like, genuinely kind of hilarious how it all, like, plays out. But anyways, fucking Sylvester went to the forest, like, right before mine got, like, essentially, like, put into the situation where she was adopted. And fucking, while there, Leon was, like, shitting his pants because he's like, how do none of you know that this is the fucking Archduke? There was, like, literally only one other individual there, a gray priest, who had previously been the attendant to a blue priest, who later was taken back to the noble quarter. A blue priest by the name of Shiksa, who is now dead because he tried to hurt mine. And this guy basically, learned how to have fucking infinite patience with insufferable nobles because of that dude. But he's now basically one of mine's attendants, because, you know, he has skill with, like, noble-related shit. And he fucking is just like, yeah, I know that this dude is, you know, the Archduke. And, they're just, like, shitting their pants over this. While Sylvester is flexing his, like, hunting abilities. Like, the kids are so unused to getting meat. You know, and, like, Sylvester's just, like, hunts up, like, so many birds. And then leaves them up, like, on a branch. But then a bunch of animals come to, like, you know, like, get them. Which means they get more animals. Basically proceeds to, like, take them out without issue. And, like, you know, he was just, like, enjoying himself. Faking being, like, you know, like a dude of lower birth by being a blue priest. It was just so fucking hilarious. Okay, so 120, 240, 240 divided by 25. So how about divided by 26? 240 divided by 27. 240 divided by 28. 240 divided by... Fine. 240 divided by... Let's go by... Let's see. So 25 is... Okay. 240 divided by 10. Okay. So that makes sense. I didn't really need to do that. I kind of hate when I plunk in numbers and then immediately afterwards, and I'm like, you know, if I'd, like, not been on a roll doing it the way I was doing, I probably could have figured out that dividing by 10 with an even number would just reduce to 0. Yeah, I can be brain dead sometimes. So that's 10 machines, power, coal. Okay. Two, 3, 4 plates. Do I have any? I'm gonna fucking go get myself some of those fucking balls if I can find them along the way back to base, because I need to do that. Get the fuck back here. Oh, you don't have to work tomorrow? Sweet. What's the holiday? I doubt it's anything similar to what we got going on here. We had Remembrance Day recently. That's a day of remembrance for veterans. Ah, God. I don't want spiders. Day of prayer and repentance. That sounds very much like a spiritual holiday. Well, that's cool.
Look through the window and witness a thread.
Ow! I hate those things.
Consume. Consume. Consume.
So you only have it because you pay a little bit more in taxes? That's an odd specification. Ah, shit. Ow. Man, I really need to get back into watching anime. It's just that, like, the times that I would watch anime at Chanka were, like, right before I go to bed. But I've started, like, reading the Ascendance of a Bookworm novels. I might take a break from them at the end of the current arc that I'm in. Because there's, like, 14 books in, like, arc 5, and there's arc 4 before this. Admittedly, it's a complete series, which is like a fucking diamond in the rough when it comes to like light novels, but still. But like, I need to like catch up on a bunch of things. I need to watch the rest of Dadan Dadan from like the last season. Also, Sword of the Demon Slayer. Or was it the Demon Slayer's Sword? It's not Kimetsu no Yaiba. It's a different anime that's similar in context, but like different. Honestly, it's painfully similar, but like the actual story is different. Let's see. I need more rotors too. Dadan Dadan has always got a banger of a song. Not watching the campfire cooking in another world with my with my awesome skill, season 2. Because I remember you saying you were watching that the first season. Yeah, I know that exact feeling, Chanka. I know that exact feeling. I'm like that with games and anime. Like, I'll get up to, like, the very tippity top end of it, and the idea of finishing it and moving on to something else is so obnoxious to me that I'll just end it and never finish it. I've played through Twilight Princess, the Legend of Zelda game, like, twice. Loved it to bits. Got relatively decent at the actual gameplay. But I've always stopped off it right before, like, the final, like, dungeon. Cool. Da. Okay, so that's 5. Okay, there we go. Kinda wanna cry. I need cable. Is there any copper around here? I don't want to have to go all the way back. Fuck you. 900 meters away. Why do I have so much coal in my inventory? What am I destroying that has coal? Fine, if I'm going to suffer this. I need cable so bad. Bench. Oh, thank God. I thought that was like a fucking... I just need fuel for my fucking jetpack. I really should get back into watching anime because, like, nothing's stopping me from, like, I don't know, watching a couple episodes of, like, current season shit and then reading the novels, like, the next night or something like that. You know, genuinely fucking nothing stopping me. Okay, I've got fuel. Radiation. I can't do anything about that. Not yet, at least. Can't get me, bitches. I need to watch more of Mashley. Or Mashal. That's a fucking good one. Harry Potter if he were One Punch Man. I wonder. Oh, I can't do shit about that.
Your waves lap at our shores. When will you land?
Ah! Get. Moving. Oh.
Symphony complete. You are not the nut effigy.
Correct.
The nut effigy is a temple?
I do not think that is correct, even though I am not entirely certain of your definition of temple.
The nut effigy is not useless history.
The nut effigy is an entirely separate entity from me. We aren't even made of the same base components.
It is a vessel of your intelligent clouds.
Probably close enough for now.
Okay. Little minor sidetracking, but Mercer orbs are so precious in the early game. I'll defile you with scripture. I want to say this is underground. Where is this? I'm being a little bit precocious with this because at this early level, it's probably safer to wait until I get better fuel or something like that. I genuinely don't know. I think this is in a cave somewhere, but I don't know where the cave is. See. One sec. I was in a random Discord server last night and I deadass got someone into Fate because I posted a picture of Jalter because people were saying who's the best anime girl. You have no idea how many people were salty when Jalter came out. Like, okay, Jeanne d'Arc Alter is one of those cases where it's like it's a villain character that's like popular enough that like she got her character in the game. But initially, in the Orleans arc, she was not in the game. As it is, Jeanne d'Arc was in the game at launch. I want to say part of that is because in the game, like its original design, they'd always intended for like FGO back when it was like in its like prototypical MMO design, because it originally was going to be an MMO. The Jeanne d'Arc was going to be like a more prominent figure in that, alongside Saint George. Saint George or Georgios was going to be like a more like prominent figure. But that ended up not being, but she's still basically one of the first like ruler servants that's in like FGO. And need cable. Let us get rid of some of this. I don't need it. Yeah, pretty fucking much. There were people who saved up their Saint Quartz and did not get her, and they were big fucking mad. That's happened a few times. Like, one servant that a lot of people were saving up for was, oh fuck. Not Musashi. It's the guy who made the Masamune in Legend. Masayaru, Masa something. Masa, whatever. It's the one that's basically Shiro. Muramasa. Yeah. Yeah, so Shiro from Fate's Day Night got summoned with the spirit of Muramasa in him, with the implication being that Shiro distantly is a descendant of Muramasa. And it's fucking hilarious because he features in a like midquel arc between like the original like storyline, the Solomon storyline, and the Lost Belt storyline. And in that arc, fucking Kodamine, Shiro Kodamine features, and he's inside like a pagoda or something like that, like his own personal fortress, and basically like, yeah, you can't get me inside of here. Muramasa proceeds to whip out his noble phantasm. You want to know what his noble phantasm is, Chanka? You want to know what his noble phantasm is? So, because he's, like summoned in the form of Shiro, who is tied existentially to Archer, and therefore has access in an existential fashion to unlimited blade works, so did Muramasa. But Muramasa looked at all the swords in Unlimited Blade Works and was like, what is this actual trash heap of scrap swords? I could make some of these drunk with a head injury. And he proceeded to take all the swords in Unlimited Blade Works and reforge them together into his own sword. This sword is so excellent that it cleaves reality. He proceeds to just do a single sword slash that obliterates this fucking fortress down the center, utterly killing fucking Kodamine. Okay, I've got enough for... I dislike having to come back and forth, but I've got the rotors. I need more plates just in case. And it's funny too, because like oftentimes I've had like the tendency to like be like, I really want servant and never get servant. But because like I was like kind of just like keeping my account active to just like get my daily stuff. Yeah, basically divine constructs cannot be wielded by mortals, and demi-servants are essentially mortals unless they're a god. And even then, they can easily overdo it, as demonstrated in the Babylon arc, but that would be spoilers, and I shall not get into it. Yeah, I need to make more rotors, like a lot more rotors. But I've got the necessary stuff. I've got the cables. I should get more cables. I should turn these things into power shards so I don't have them cluttering up my inventory. But yeah, like a while back, there was like this like FGO anniversary thing where they were like, you get pieces of Saint Quartz for doing stuff, and also you get a bunch of like Saint Quartz just because. So I had like a fuckload of Saint Quartz for the better part of a year or two, and that was during the year that Artoria Caster and Muramasa came out. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna whale on these. I didn't have to whale very much to get one entry, and that's all I ever go after. I feel going after more than that with like 5 stars is ridiculous. Yeah, I got Morgan Caster as well. Excellent fucking berserker. My usual tactic for taking out anything is basically frontline at least 2 berserkers and waver, because I have Zhuge Liang and he's like, maxed out ish. He's not fully maxed out, but like his steroids for my noble phantasms are jacked up, so that's good. But I usually have 2 berserkers in the front row, the weakest of which will go first with their noble phantasm, and then follow up with the second one. But before I do that, I swap in a berserker from the back row area using my mystic code. And then I proceed to do the same. I can usually 3-turn things. If I need more than that, I usually have my crests for that. That tactic is the reason why I found the Olympus arc so frustrating, because they forced a group combo that involved not just Romulus, who is a pretty good character, but like I wasn't set up for him. But also they force Ortonax Mashu. Ortonax Mashu comes later on in the storyline. I won't say why, but imagine taking a tank whose like whole thing is stalling and protecting, and then saying, yeah, we're just gonna shit all over that and give her like DPS abilities even though she don't got the stats for it. Easily the most frustrating thing ever. I was struggling. I was so mad. Like, I haven't seen it be better, but that's because I haven't like advanced the story for a bit. But that's fair. If it's improved, that's good. I'm still mad that like they kind of shoved that down your throat. But like, it was the most frustrating thing. Okay, so each of these is going to consume 24. 25. 24 divided by 25. Okay, that's 96%. 96%. But yeah, like, I grew so furious with that. Like, let me put it to you this way. I said to Bo, if I have to deal with fucking Mashu being shoved into the front row and screwing up my comp one more time, I am going to forever after call her Mash, because fuck her. Keep in mind, I love Mashu to bits. I love her to bits. I do not like Anaphylex's attempt to rebrand her with like just like the name Mash, because does not fit her. She has no real association other than military speak with MASH the TV series, which is what I think the name when I hear the name MASH. And just because the Mashu is just how they terminate like names and shit like that at the end of it in Japanese and whatnot, does not mean I feel that it was supposed to be translated to MASH. Also, Altria can back the fuck off my dick. That name is stupid. Ah, so the reason for her being like, you know, Ortnax finally laid the fuck off, did it? Yeah, that's why I said it the way I did. You know, because there's a reason, but I won't say why. Because it is a spoiler. I'm just being all circumspect about it. Okay. Okay. Now let's remember that the 24 times 10. Yeah, I don't need to do that again. I was like, is that the correct ratios? And I'm like, Ashe, stop being such a putz. Okay, I don't need... I can just put this down the middle. These might be a little bit cramped, so I might have to move them. But I think I've had more cramped setups than I've got right now. What are you doing? No. That's better. Okay, let's see if we can't get this to work. Okay, auto works and vertical works. Okay, we're golden. Just so long as it's properly aligned. Okay, yeah, that works because there's more space there. Okay. But yeah, like, generally I put Mashu in all of my party comps because, well, one, she's generally a decent staller. Two, frankly, she costs nothing to field. I usually put her in just so that I can afford, like, another, like, craft essence. You know, like, in events where, like, the craft essence is, like, a party-wide resource, like, increaser. That's usually why I bring her along. That and also love. I mean, I actually did level her up proper. That is not what I intended to do, but I can work with this. see. Okay, so each of these requires 43. 43 times 5. No, 43 times 5. 215. Divide by 2. 108. Call it 110. Doesn't hurt to have things a little bit more than you need. So long as things are reasonably symmetrical, that's all that really matters. Okay. Okay, I need to step away for a moment because I need to go to the bathroom. But I will be right back. I'm actually going to switch to my AFK screen, which I made recently, because why the fuck not? So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Boosh. Oh, please don't cause me to run out of... I don't want to run out of cable, but I'm gonna run out of cable, aren't I? This is the perils of running out of fucking space in your inventory. Fuck it. I'm going over here. I'm gonna make forays into this land anyways. The desert, the sort of northern beaches region, or like, it's kind of like a pseudo-desert, is actually a pretty good place for resources. Okay, it's over there. What am I getting this? So, aside from being, you know, just as close to, you know, the oil area, it generally has similarly useful resources as the grasslands, but I want to say there's like more normal nodes than impures in this region.
Was it intentional?
All that is shallow shall sing our deep song, and when the windows break the void shall be a metal grave.
There we are. It's one of the possible starter areas, so it's like a lot more... Oh, son of a bitch. Okay. What's this? Normal iron ore. Yeah, I want to say it's like a bunch of iron ores in this region, like almost more than exists in the grasslands. Give me that cool S. Ugh. Okay, they're over here. Oh, for the love of... The one downside of this region, there's so many of these fucking hatchers. You don't run into those in the grasslands, like, at all. But you run into them so much once you get into this region. It's useful to go to once you've you know, gotten into you know, like the actual more end game-ish qualities. Like in my other file, I set up a just like a plates and bars production line here, which was like pretty sizable and supplied the shit out of... Can I just put down... Do I have... Yeah, I've got the bars for this. Okay. The shit I do when I desperately don't want to go somewheres. Okay. Cable. Criminy. Okay. I really should have taken the time to put down, like, a collector for this shit. The infinite storage aspect that you get from all this, like, you know, automation is so good, and I really need to dedicate time to that. But I wanted to get the plastic and rubber set up before doing anything else. No. No. There we go. Fuck. At least I can easily get over there if I need more copper. It's not far. Okay. That's set up. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. I'm running out of rods super bad. I just can't win with this game. If I go back to the base, I'll lose track of what I'm doing because I'm going to rather dedicatedly set up infinite storage. So rather than like embrace that, I'm gonna go somewhere where there's nothing to distract me. Nothing at all. As yet. There is a bunch of hard drives in the beach area that I know how to get to and have the resources to apply to and all that. So that is something I'm desperately trying to avoid doing. And I can be kind of bullshit with the fucking with these things because they allow me to transcend the limitations of gravity a bit. Okay. Iron ore right here. Okay. Actually, out of curiosity. Okay, as soon as I make a few bars, I'm going to make some miners and slap it down onto these things, just in case. I'm not distracted, I'm just being proactive. Well, while that does that. Come to me, Canada Dry, 0 sugar, cranberry flavored ginger ale. Bo was like, oh no, I like 0 sugar Canada Dry. And I'm like, what's wrong with that? Ginger ale slaps. Yeah, but it's like a thing with me. I don't like water. I know it's basically very childish, but like, genuinely speaking, people will be like, water tastes like nothing. And it's like, actually, it tends to have a flavor. A very mid flavor that is just like unenthusing and makes me sad. Sort of. Water having a flavor is relative to the trace materials in it. In general, so long as there are no pathogens, that's the primary thing. Past that, it's trying to make sure that the water is as filtered as possible, but there's only so very much you can do. Like, you know, organic matter or fucking, or like trace elements are just going to be in the water. And depending on the quality of the water that they're like, you know, treating in a region, it's going to taste differently. This is, in fact, a thing that I have read up on for a course that I am taking. Aesthetic qualities of water are a thing that are taken into account. Mostly because as much as like a lot of certain qualities aren't like really essential, like your water could probably be like, they could probably get away with it being like kind of like yellowish, because like that wouldn't necessarily mean that it would be bad. It's just that not going to want to drink yellowish water. You're not going to. Even if it doesn't taste like anything, it looks like it's tainted. Okay. Game, stop telling me that I'm going to run out of fucking foil. Yeah, so it's like the whole psychological element of water is a thing. There's a million and one things that are like concerned with like, where the water comes from and what's like, touching it. It's honestly pretty fascinating. Like one of the aspects of like water extraction, because like sometimes you're not somewheres where there's like fresh water at all. Like you can harvest from like the area of the sea, but you're gonna have to bury your fucking extractors under the sand so that like the sand itself filters out the salt. And you're gonna have to deal with what remains, because it does not take very much salt in the water we consume before it becomes non-potable. And it's not even really that the salt in the water makes necessarily makes our bodies, shall we say, like poisoned. It's that salt water is overworking our kidneys. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, that is piping over there. That's being extracted. One of you is accumulating this shit somewheres. Okay, that makes it so that it won't fucking flow back, I think. Okay. These can start going. Okay, that's going, that's going. What do you mean no power? Fuck you. So those are both each 40. 2, 4, 6, 8. Oh, I didn't connect those. I'm hoping. Plenty of water. Okay, these are ready to online. Okay. Now that's going to be wavering for a bit as the system balances out. Fluid systems are wont to be like that. Okay, there we go. Can confirm. There we go. One-way check valve. Could probably get away with underclocking these things just a smidge. But we shall see how that works. Because the system is currently just balancing out. Either way, it's power I didn't have before. I'll leave that to do its thing. And observe over here. It's looking fine. That's looking fine and dandy. That's looking like plastic. Throw out one of these. I'm gonna grab that. All right. Just in case. If that's plastic and that's a rubber, then I have the means to go and finally start getting into the next stages of development after nearly 3 hours. That's my fault for basically being super chatty. And of course, having no, like, ability to split my attention span. But yeah, on the non-book front, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but I took up crochet along with sewing and embroidery. I'm doing kind of a lot these days, but I'm actually coming along with the crochet quite well. It's one of those cases where it's like you make a thing and you're like, that looks not actually that bad. You know, and you gain like 2 self-esteem points. Just 2, as a treat. Eh. Okay. Can't get me, bitch. Let's start sending out some stuff. First and foremost, I need probably fluid packaging. Maybe not fluid packaging. I'm good for that. So let's get petroleum power on the way.
Milestone reached. It is my honor and privilege to inform you that the fuel-powered generator, as well as the industrial fluid buffer, are now available. Due to a lack of gold in your sector, Caterium will serve as a suitable replacement to construct the fuel-powered generator. Your research into this element was valuable. In fact, you in particular are my most valuable pioneer, but don't tell the others I said that, it would be bad for morale.
Okay, let's see. I've got plenty of those things, but I need wire, which I've got plenty of, but I need those things, so. I also need to, at some point, start, making, fucking bombs so I can get rid of those flowers. I need wire. Oh. Good to do it here, then, I suppose. I don't have a storage for this shit. Yeah. The gas flowers are just so frustratingly in the way is the thing, so. Man, I can't wait until I can automate this shit. I don't think I get that recipe for a good fucking long time, or it's like from the man. Wonder if there was a fucking update surrounding that thing with my cousin. So like our family is meeting up on Saturday in the early evening for a thing. And like I mentioned it, it's essentially a reunion for like the immediate family and also like a celebration of life, anniversary thing for my grandfather. And I have this one cousin, he's much older than the rest of, me and my other cousins. That's because he was, born when my aunt was 16. She was a bit of a wild child. And the end result of that was he got put up for adoption, but he eventually like tracked us down and reintegrated with his with the family. He's had a rather robust life, but as far as I know, he's not Jewish. But for some reason, he was asking about about like a kosher kitchen. And it's like, wait, since when do you need kosher kitchens? Okay, so I have enough to place down. All right, do I have wire still? Organization. Yeah, I don't have wire. I'm gonna have to redo all of this. Yeah. It's like it's like a spiritual allergen at that point. Like, you're basically saying we need to make sure that, like, that this is like properly set up, the proper practices are used, that it's been, I think, blessed by a rabbi, and like certain things can make it not kosher. And I don't think most establishments have a kosher kitchen. Like, I know that might seem exclusionary, but it's like, I'm sorry, what do you expect? For every restaurant to have literally 2 kitchen staff and serve nothing that you can't eat? It doesn't work that way. Yeah, pretty much. A secondary kitchen with a secondary staff. Okay, putting that there. For now. Yeah, it's like, and I don't want, like, necessarily to, like, be like, LOL, no, but at the same time, it's like, that's a big ask for, like, for a fucking, like a get together that's not even being foot by his bill. I want to say my mother pays for it out of, like, the my grandfather's estate, but still, it's like, it's money that we don't have an infinite amount of. And I mean, if he wants to foot the bill for a kosher kitchen, okay, that's enough for that. Okay, so I've got that. The only thing I don't have on tap is wire. Let's tap in here. There we go. I basically have an infinite supply now. I mean, I say basically, but that is true, as there is no actual, like, resource limitation from any given node. All right, so I need foil, copper foil. Let's see. Rob from Peter to pay Paul, basically. Okay, need more foil from there. Did I ever empty that thing of foil that I had over here? Did I have a thing of foil over here? Those birds are like that fucking meme out there of the dude who basically said that it was gonna die if somebody didn't piss in his mouth. Like, sincerely, they're just sitting around with their mouths gaping open. Like, or one of these fuckers. They're always all around when I don't want them around. Kidding me? I guess they only come around at a certain time of day, but like, seriously. They sit there with their mouths open like flowers.
Milestone reached. Avoid the embarrassment of placing liquids in your pockets only for them to spread across your suit. Package and unpackage them with the packager. Packaging fluids allows them to be transported in your inventory, on conveyor belts, and by vehicles. For increased, non-pocket related fluid storage, you can now use the industrial fluid buffer.
Okay. We're rising, we're rising, we're rising. Okay, we're no longer dealing with gratuitous supply issues. These fucking birds. Seriously. That looks like the dude who's basically sitting around for, like, people to piss on him to keep him alive. You know, the fucking meme. It literally is the meme. And I'm not gonna be the guy who's gonna say, what, you're just gonna let him fucking die? They can fucking die for all I care. I'm not going to their magical realm. Ah, shit. That's like a pretty prominent fucking meme. Let me see if I can't acquire it real quick. Browsersaurus. His flower. Boom. There we are. I'm a thirsty little flower. You have to water me. You have to use your pee. Beat. I'm not doing that. And just let him fucking die? But then again, I'm reminded of that other comic, the Magical Realm one about the dude who has like a piss fetish and keeps trying to get his friends involved in it in their D&D. At which point they're like, I'm gonna punch you in the face if you try to get us involved in your piss fetish again. He gets punched in the face. Okay, how's my power looking? That's still bobbling. That is still bobbling, which means that it's probably these far ones. I'm gonna set this down. Just a couple more. Down to 70 milliwatts or megawatts. Yeah, those are megawatts. Okay, yeah, so those are properly loaded up. LOL, 69, nice. Ha! These ones are currently engaged in, yeah, those are maxed out, Okay, so I am going to place down a logistics node. Overflow. Awesome sync. Remember that I probably should have gotten plates. Okay, those are fine. Okay, that's enough foil for me. Okay, what about power? Okay, good. That is fine. That is excellent. I am golden. I am cool. I am maxing. I am, all that. I am in a good spot to continue my operation. What about production? Instructors. Okay, more than enough. The problem with like power is that it is very geographically expensive. Doesn't have to be, but it's good to have things kind of laid out a little bit spaciously so you've got the room to either patch things in or expand. It's just that I don't have infinite foil because I haven't set up a foil production line. Go away, coal node. God. I do not need to have raw coal in my inventory. I just didn't need that there. Okay, that's ideal. Every time I say the word ideal, I'm reminded of this, like, comedy sketch that I saw. Where it's like it's this woman playing as if she's basically like two different women in like in an office area and talking about their weekends and how like they're like like the basic joke is that they're dead inside and seek negative stimuli to feel anything, because she's like talking about how she like looked at her like ex-boyfriend's like wedding photos from his really gorgeous wife in her beautiful dress, and she was like, I wasn't more like self-loathing and depression. Like we're talking like she was like deliberately looking at like photos of her like, you know, her ex-boyfriend who really moved on and whatnot. And just like, I wasn't quite where I needed to be at that time. So I went and put on a dress from like 10 years ago to see if it would fit me. And it did not. Finally, I was absolutely bawling. It was absolutely cathartic. One of the things that she was like saying to her, she's like, you know, it's just like talking about how like her ex moved on to like a better place, a better like job, and like her coworker's like, and you're still here. And then there's like a pregnant pause, and then she's like, ideal. And it's like, it's done with like that same like facial like mugging, like I'm not sure if you know what the word like mugging means for like facial expressions, but like it's used for instance to refer to like mean mugging is when you're like making just like angry mean expressions at a person. But anyways, like I'm just trying to... I don't have much health. Die already! Oh my god. Okay, if he hits me, I will die. Okay. Mugging is another, is a word for robbing a person. I don't know why, actually, I sort of do. Getting your mug shots taken. Oh, I never opened this one. Getting your mug shots taken refers to having, your pictures taken for a crime you've committed. So, your mug is also a colloquialism in the English language to refer to a person's face. Now, as for why it refers to these things, I don't know the etymology behind these words, but that is like a thing. Okay, that's a wide open space. Okay. Get that out of my inventory. Okay. 240. $240 fuel per second. I don't really need plastic all that much, so I'm probably going to convert that all into heavy oil. Refiners. Okay, how much can I alternate polymer resin? Okay. I can't turn all that into heavy oil just yet. Let's see if I can whip out a MAM and place that over here. Cozy little workshop area. Time I started putting these in there. Ugh. I could just make residual fuel right now, but I really don't want to because that's fucking inefficient. What I really hope to get out of this is the alternate recipe for just getting lots of heavy oil. Because the polymer resin one is like lots of polymer resin, but my alternative choice is this one, and that's just not really efficient. You're getting heavy oil residue at a 3-to-1 ratio, whereas I guess this is also a 3-to-1, but you get so much polymer resin out of it. And relative to this, which gives so very little plastic, because you can get 20 out of 60 polymer resin. So this is yielding as much as like 2 shots worth of plastic. So 40 plastic at a minimum. Versus this, which only yields 10 and only 20 and 10 heavy oil residue. It's like 6-2 versus 6-4, but I think that there's I think generally speaking, no. Ew. I love how that's an option in this game, even though you're well past biofuel by this point. Like, you can turn biofuel into a liquid, but damn, is it probably not going to be very much better for like anything. Let me take a look at that. Oh. It does improve in quality for it, but like the exchange rate isn't all that great. I am currently, I guess, waiting on this. Well, I suppose if I'm just going to wait around, I may, because I am at relative time, I was going to run a little bit longer, but like, I think I'm going to option longer streams as a on my whim sort of thing. So I'm going to send y'all off to, Marshall Bawamond. So let's raid, yeah, okay, he's still up. Bohemond. All right. That was my stream. Thank you for tuning in for my technically not, but actually, UI debut stream. I appreciate your viewership. I will be back tomorrow with Dispatch rather than Satisfactory. I will begin playing that on the stream. But until then, thank you again. I have been PaladinAshe, and I'm signing off.